What's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a 2003 PT Cruiser. I believe it's got the 2.5 in it, remember correctly. But this is the want you none get you some PT Cruiser, I guess you could call. But what we're going to be doing to this is a transmission. It will not hardly pull in any gear. We did get a used one right here. That's from FKQ, not a sponsor. That's who had one. This one only has like 92,000 miles on it, and the actual car only has like 110. So this only calls for like 4.5 hours of labor, surprisingly, which is weird. So first thing we need to do though is take this air cleaner assembly off and pull the battery out. I know it's probably kind of hard to see a little bit, it's a little dark, but let me gather some tools and I'll bring y'all back and we'll get started on this thing. Okay, like I said, we're going to pull this air cleaner off. That's it right there. Just one hose clamp and some little pop tabs. This filter don't look too bad. There, and then you can just lift up and there's your box. It just has one little hose on the side. Next, we're going to pull the battery out. It's right here. I'm going to disconnect it. Here's your battery. Just two 10 millimeters for the terminals and a 13 holds it down. The actual tray is held in with four 10 millimeters. Make that 5. Also, there's a connector on the bottom right here for your battery. You can see it moving. But here are the bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 5 right here on the top. Next thing I'm doing is removing the bracket that the battery tray attaches to. Right. Here's your battery holder bracket right here. It does have 4. It's just the front 2 right here. Hold on. Front 2 right here, they're hard to get to because it's so close to the radiator and all that. The bottom one's hard to see, but these are the bolts right there. Now that you can see in here a little bit, what we're going to do is going to disconnect the shifter cable. This is the connector for the battery box. Then we're going to take off these 2 lines. That's your transmission lines. Undo all the connectors we can right here, and we're going to start taking out some of these starter bolts as well, because we're going to try to get this wiring harness up and out of the way. So right here we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 connectors. This one's held in with a 10 millimeter. Then you just have these squeeze clamps, squeeze connectors on the other 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all this stuff off, and whenever I get through, I'll bring y'all back. Okay, these right here come off the old transmission. This is for the speed sensors. All you do is you just lift up on that tab. Here is the screw-in one. It is actually an 8 millimeter. That's the other speed sensor. And then here's this one right here. It does have a safety clip on it. You have to pull it to the side, and then you can squeeze that in and pull it straight up. Just figure I'd show y'all what they look like, because it's easier outside of the car. And those come off the old one, like I said, because they did cut all the wires. Alright, so here's everything disconnected. You see we got a new part on this one right here, and it is a Borg Warner, so I may swap that over to the other one because that was probably an attempt to fix it. And if you look right there on my finger, it's kind of hard to see, I know. There's two starter bolts, and one of the bolts holds the dipstick in. That is a bracket for that. And then if you look down through that hole right here, you push in all these little tabs, and you should be able to pull the shifter out. I don't know what it's hitting back here. Oh, there we go. But that's how you do that. It's just two little squeeze tabs on the side, and then you can push the shifter through. Alright. Excuse me. Next thing I'm going to do is, while I'm up here, go ahead and start taking some of these bell housing bolts out on the top. You got one right here, and then the starter bolts are right down through there. So I'm going to pull all that out, and I'll show you what everything looks like once I get it out. Okay, so we got this top starter bolt right here out. These two bell housing bolts, and those are 18 millimeters. And they were really tight. That's what they look like. And I moved the wiring harness out of the way. This is the main connector for that. You can see the transmission lines right there. I just folded everything up and tucked it behind the intake. The other starter bolt comes in from the engine side to the transmission. It is right about there. Let's see if I can get you a little closer. But right there on the bottom. And those were a 15. I still have to take the other one out. But now what I'm going to do is actually lift the car up and start taking everything out on the bottom. Alright, now we're about to take the axles out of this. We're going to take the, I'm going to take the tie rod off if I can get it. There it goes. If I can get it out. That is an 18. We can knock that loose. There it went. I'll keep that on there. And we'll get a splinter while we're at it. Now we're going to take the axle nut off and spin y'all around. This is a 32 on this one. Oh yeah. Now we're going to take these two nuts right here off, nuts and bolts, because I don't think I got enough play to pull that out. Okay, so you're going to have to tap them out because they do have these splines right here in it that interlocks into the strut. But now that that is off, we should be able to pull this axle out. It's a little tight. go. Alright, now we're going to climb underneath and we're going to pop it out. There we go. Got this axle out. And now we're going to repeat the process for the other side. I'm not going to show you that just because it's pretty much the same thing. Alright, we got this last starter bolt out. As you can see, it's a little bit of a tight spot under here. And I'm not going to take it all the way out. I'm just going to scoot it back. And now that we got that, I'm going to take this. Should be a cover on here somewhere. Trying to find this cover. Well, first thing I'll probably do is go ahead and take this side brace right here off, and there should be one on this side too. Oh, looks like somebody's already removed this one. Well, since that's already been removed, what we'll do is we'll just take this brace bar right there off, and then I'll start taking some of these bell housing bolts off up here, which one goes through this bracket. So here's the front support bracket. There should be another one on the back side, but like I said, somebody already took that one off and didn't put it back on. And there you go, that's what it looks like up in there, because two of those are the bell housing bolts, but there are two 18s and 3 15s. Next thing is there's two 15 millimeters right here on the bottom. That way y'all can see that. That is a cover plate, and two of the bell housing bolts go through there. And on that right there, you can see that one torque converter bolt right there. That's what we're going to take out next. There should be 4 of those, and I think they are 15s, maybe 16s. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out, and once I pull them out, I'll let you know what size they are. Alright, so make sure you put a screw jack underneath here if you're working on a lift. If not, put a regular car jack underneath here, and then you're gonna need another one for the transmission. I took out the rest of the bell housing bolts, and I took out the torque converter bolts, and when I did, the engine and transmission separated. So, and the only thing I had left to do was the mount on the other side. Now the torque converter bolts, they are 18 millimeters. They look smaller than they really were, but we have the transmission jack underneath there, and instead of going back on top and taking the main bolts out on the mount, if I can talk, I took the 4 out on the side. They were 15s, and then the shifter bracket, there was 2 15s on that as well, and I took those off. And now what we're going to do is try to lower this out of here. Okay, I put a ratchet strap around it just to hold it onto the transmission jack as I lower it down, because it was getting a little loose on me. Alright, and there it is in all of its glory. I did take the dipstick out just so I could roll it underneath the car over there next to the new one. So what I'm going to do is transfer this to the new part, which this looks like 3 10 millimeter bolts, and it should come right up, and just transfer it over to that one. And then we're going to take this off, put the new one on, and I'm going to start putting it up in there. And then whenever I get ready to torque everything, I'll let y'all know what all the torque specs are. Alright, so we have the transmission back in. I've already installed the axles, and I have the passenger side axle already torqued down. The axle nuts actually torqued down to 180 foot-pounds. So the way we're going to do this is I got 2 lug nuts on there, and I'm holding it with, this right here is actually a tire tool, but we're going to hold it down like that so I can torque it down. Come on. Well, as you can see, it takes a lot of brute force to hold one of these down. So, y'all give a round of applause for my wife. Alright, so I didn't get a chance to film the PT Cruiser because it was getting dark and I didn't get a chance to show it running or anything, but it crunk up and it drove fine, went into all the gears and all that stuff really well. I did have to add like 8 quarts of fluid to it just because that one was really dry. Like they had drained everything out, and I guess from sitting and all that stuff it drained out even more, so it did take 8. I think normally it calls for 6. So if you go to do this job right here, you may have to do 8 quarts of fluid instead of the regular 6 in which it calls for, which I like to get a couple extra just to be safe anyway. The only issue we did have after they test drove it for a while was the piece that I changed. The gasket started leaking around it, that new piece, so we did have to put a new gasket underneath it. I thought maybe the old gasket would hold pretty good, but it didn't, so they did have to change the gasket on it again. But like I said, that was just 3 10mm bolts in that connector, and you can pull it right up, put the gasket on, and then set it right back down. And I know after we changed that, it hasn't leaked since. But this is going to be the closing of the video for the PT Cruiser. If you enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also if y'all would notice below, I do have my merchandise line below, and there are shirts, hats, cups, masks, a couple other little things, stickers that y'all can purchase on there. Anything that I make off of that goes toward the channel as well. But like I said, if you would hit all the buttons and the likes, because it does help the channel. And until next time, y'all have a great day.